where she will be sharing her original work, A Story of Recovery.
Hi, everybody. Isn't it great to be back here again after all these years?
Yeah.
This is my recovery journey. I'm starting with a poem. It's called Home for Lunch. Tom and I birthed breathlessly through the door, having run most of the way home. Mom's waiting there, and Beth sits in her high chair, staring at her bowl of congealed oatmeal. Tom and I devour our fresh baked bread and homemade stew. The smell of an apple pie escapes from the oven. First, there's Paul Harvey on the radio. Then quick, switch on Bewitched. We watch as long as we dare, and then run out again, leaving Beth sitting in her high chair, not eating her oatmeal. And that was published in spring of '96 in the Sandy River Review, which is published at UML. This poem is a snapshot, a moment in time from my childhood. My parents eloped when my mom was 16 and my dad was 19. Mom was escaping from an abusive home life. When I was 2 months old, my older brother died. Both of them never got over losing Johnny, and their marriage got worse. They divorced several years later, not long after my sister Beth was born. Mom moved back home and remarried. My sister Kathy was born of that marriage, which also ended in divorce. When I was 12, she married again, and my brother Roger was born. Even though their marriage was rocky as well, they stayed married until their deaths this past January and February, 10 days apart. Life growing up was unstable. My siblings and I were abused emotionally, physically, and sexually. We were taught to never talk about things that happened to us, to keep the secrets. As the oldest, I always tried to make things easier to protect the other kids, but I felt so lost and helpless. I escaped, though, by being good in school and reading everything I could get my hands on. I suffered from horrible nightmares most of my life, well into my 40s. They finally ended after I was in therapy for several years. At 19, I found out I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, Hope. I had to drop out of college. I married her father, and she was born 9 weeks early. I got my first beating while she was still in the hospital. He was always so sorry, and I kept staying until I finally got the strength to leave, right before our 20th anniversary. I had gone back to college and was getting help through Voc Rehab, and then one day my counselor saw the bruises and asked me about them. I broke down, and through that encounter, she set it up for me to see a counselor, and that my husband would never see a bill. It took me 2 years to get away from him. During those first sessions, I finally got my mind calmed down, and I could think and make plans for my future. That was 25 years ago. I've worked pretty hard and consistently, and sometimes I've made more progress than others. Recovery is a journey, and I've learned to give myself the grace to not be perfect, and that it's all right to make mistakes. After going through 2 divorces and some failed relationships, I'm finally in a good relationship and engaged to be married to a loving, patient man who treats me with love and respect. I'm grateful for all the people who've had a part in this journey of getting healthier. It allowed me to help care for my mother during the last 10 months of her life. She caught COVID and almost died. And during her time in Maine Medical, they found she had lung cancer. She didn't want any interventions. So when she was strong enough, she moved into my sister Beth's home, and I was part of her care team. Our relationship had been rocky over the years, and we had many gaps where we weren't speaking to each other. Because of all the work I'd done, I was able to be there for her and give my sister as much help as I could. We spent many hours talking, and I was able to tell my mom about some of the things that had hurt me. And she even opened up more about her childhood. I finally felt heard and was able to make my peace with her. It wasn't easy, and I missed her a lot. While we were caring for Mom, my stepdad was in memory care. So I visited him weekly whenever I could. They weren't always letting visitors in because of COVID. I'd sing songs to my dad, and I set up radio calls between him and my mom, and brought him treats. That was his big thing. He loved to eat. The day she died, he stopped eating. No one had told him yet, but I believe he knew. As a family, we had decided not to say anything until we could all be with him. When my brother Tom got home, we went in to see him, and he knew who we were. And he seemed to understand that Mom had passed. 10 days after Mom, he slipped away as well. I was able to be at both their bedsides. It was hard. I guess the thing I want people to understand is there's nothing wrong with needing and asking for help. Most abuse is part of the cycle that happened to the generations before us. And seeking help and breaking the secrecy is the only way to break the cycle and not pass it on. That it's okay to take the time it takes to get through your journey. Each of us has a story and a journey to go on. What works for one person may not be right for you, and that's okay. Until the day we pass away, we'll be on our journey, and it's up to us, each of us, to take it. There is hope for a life that's better than it was. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Everybody does have a story.